Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going over this little unit right here that you've seen on the guns in the intro. This is the Holosun 321G. So G stands for green, so it does have a visible laser as well as an IR laser as well as an IR illuminator. We're going to show you all that here in just a second. But basically this one here comes to market at a pretty affordable price point as compared to some of the other offerings out there on the market. So, you know, your big ones there, of course, are going to be the L3, PEC 15, and their civilian version thereof, and the Steiner options. And now we have this one on the scene. So this one here is going to come in, I think right now, if you look around the internet, they're generally speaking priced around the $800 mark, but with coupon codes and sales and stuff, you can get them for less than that. So it's sort of trying to be the budget contender for the IR laser illuminator. Again, a visible laser as well, which we'll get into here in just a second. But what we're going to do now is kind of show you what it looks like, at least as best we can, with my nods. And those are Gen 2 Plus, so it's not going to be quite as crisp as it would be if you're looking through the Gen 3s, of course. And then my iPhone camera, unfortunately, it's very ironic that I have a ton of really nice camera and audio equipment, but in order to get it in behind the actual monocular that I'm using, the iPhone seems to work the best. So I apologize for that, but I kind of want to give you guys an idea of what you're actually seeing when you're wearing those nods and using this device in a few different environments. So we'll check that out and then come back and get into the details of it. That fence out there is about 45-50 feet from where I'm currently standing, and just have the nods on with nothing down there IR related. So we got down there, and there you can see that is our dot. Through the camera here, what I'm looking at, it doesn't really look like what it looks like when you have the nods on yourself and you're looking. The dot looks crisp, like it's on that tree right there. And right now we have the flood illumination opened up, I believe, as wide as possible. Let me set it down here for a second. Double click it and just leave it on. But I think, yeah, it's all the way up. And then if you want a narrower flood, you can dial it down just like that. And what you have there is a very narrow flood. I believe that's a 4-degree illuminator. So it doesn't get too wide, and it's very narrow. Now, the good thing of that is it's really, really good for hunting. So if you wanted that throwaway out there, you will be able to illuminate and see very, very far with this. I'll turn it across the lake here in a second so you guys can kind of get an idea of that. And one thing that's hard to see here on the camera is that the dot stands out a good bit more than the it looks like here. It stands out even within that very narrow illuminated field to the eye better than it does here on the camera. So here we are looking across the lake. I did measure this before, and from down on the grass down there, it was 109 yards. So all the way out to trees from here, it's going to be at least 120, probably more like 130 yards out there. And what you'll see there is that laser in the illuminator. If I can double click it here and get it on. Oops, there you go. And you'll see that is how it appears. It's very easy to pick that dot up. And right now, we don't have very good loom at all outside. It's raining tonight. You guys might be able to hear the rain actually coming down around me. So with very, very little loom, that thing is pretty bright. Now, if I go and open up the flood on it, you'll see it change. Can't keep both things still at the same time. There you go. Well, I don't know if you can still see the flood at that distance. I guess you really can't, but when you come down here to the fence, you can. You can see the difference there in what it's actually illuminating. We're going to go inside and kind of run the same thing. Right now we're inside of our foyer, and you can see there's our door, there's our alarm system, and there's another door over there. And what that big bright thing right there is this little laser illuminator there pointing at it. So let me see if we can grab it and kind of move it around for you without getting too horrible on the camera work. And I got it. Okay. So yeah, so you can see how it looks. Again, when you're actually using this though, you see the laser in the middle. If something in the camera is going to make it sort of not as easily visible to you guys. And again, I'm not sure what that is, but there it is with an even smaller dialed down area of illumination. And I'm widening it out right now and dialing it back down. But again, in reality, that laser stands out. It's very, very bright. You just can't see it here on the camera. Now we have another lovely cell phone vid. And again, with the camera, you're getting those sort of halo effects that are coming off the laser right now. That's just the laser only. Again, I'm going to try to move the laser around, which is sitting right here. And there you go. So you guys can see the laser moving. And it's extremely bright. It's extremely easy to pick up. And we have no illumination right now in the area. This This room I'm in is dark with the exception of that little pad right there, which is just a security code pad. So other than that, completely dark in here, and you guys can see just how bright it is in terms of the laser and being able to see what's around you. So we are in the exact same room, nothing has changed. I just turned the lights on, and now we're using the visible laser. Now I can tell you in person, it looks like a very solid laser. It does not look like that little meshy dot that you guys see on there. What I'm guessing that is I'm guessing the camera is actually picking up some of the reflection around there. Let me turn it on the low setting for the laser and see if that changes anything. We're going to show you how to do this in just a second, of course. Yeah, you guys can see that the splash around it looks a little bit less, but I'm telling you, the laser is super crisp in real life. The camera, it's just playing tricks on it. Mounting it up is a pretty straightforward affair. We have this quick detach lever here, and so you can mount it to any 1913 rail that you want to. If you need to adjust it, you can loosen it up by moving this bolt either in or out. And basically, you're going to put it on the rail, and at this point, you're going to try to push this lever down, but you can't until you actually push this one forward, and that's what actually allows it to close. And then also it locks into place like that. So you have to push it forward to unlock it. So we have the Daniel fence rail here. We're going to get it actually on there. We can do so under the camera. Now we're going to tighten it down. You're going to feel the tension. It's going to clamp. And then again, we're going to push forward. And that way it's mounted. Now if you're going to use the attached, or included rather, I should say, tape switch, you can do a million different ways to mount it. It does allow itself to be mounted though. If you want to take the double-sided tape off of there and mount it straight on a 1913 rail like that, you can. Or you can stick this basically onto any point on the rifle, tie your cords up, and then put it on like that. There's tons of different ways to do it, like any tape switch. When you get your device in, it does come in this hard plastic case. It has a manual, the batteries, obviously the unit itself, and the tape switch are all in there. I'm going to set those off to the side though for now and just kind of go over some basic features of it. If you look up front there, you'll see that you have three different things going out. You have the Illuminator, the IR laser, and then the visible laser. Here's our battery compartment. It is powered by one CR123 battery, and it is sealed up. It does have an IPX rating. I believe it's IPX 67 for those wondering, but again, one battery, then it goes down. The threads on this one were not lubricated, so if you guys are worried about moisture, put a little bit of grease on there and you'll be just fine. Now we'll get to the items on the back there. Getting into the settings on the back, we'll start over here on the left and kind of work our way around. So we have the IR laser on low here all the way on the left, and then we have the visible laser on low. And you guys can see there, basic activation of it is that if you push and hold, the laser will come out, and if you let go, it will go off. If you want it to stay on, you're going to double click it, and then it will stay on. And that holds true for any of the activation in any mode that we're going to get to here in just a second. So move it straight up to 12 o'clock position, and that turns it off, so there's no way you can actually actuate anything on the light. If you bump it or anything like that, it will not come on. Now we're going to have the visible laser on high. As you guys saw earlier in the video, now we're going to have our IR laser only on high. At that setting, then we're going to have our IR illuminator only, and then IR illuminator and laser on high. That's basically where I've been using it when I was outside shooting. That's what we had it on the whole time. And here we have the adjustment knob, and this adjusts the illuminator from anywhere from a 4 degree, which is a super throwy one that you guys saw, all the way out to a 13 degree illumination device coming out the front. And like you guys saw, either of those are very, very throwy. There's not a lot of dispersion coming out the end of it, but that is how you adjust it there. And you guys can probably hear that if I put it next to the microphone. It is audible and tactile as you make the adjustments throughout. I briefly mentioned it earlier, but this is how you're going to activate it if you're not using the tape switch. Now, the button on top is the exact same in terms of function as the tape switch. So there's no different. If you double click with the tape switch, it'll be constant on. If you double click with this button here, it'll be constant on. If you press and hold, it's obviously momentary only. And what's really nice about this unit is that the IR laser and the visible lasers are slaved, as are the illuminator. So it's all slaved together. So as you make your elevation and windage adjustments to zero it in, you can do that in broad daylight. And then when you go out at night and do your shooting, it's still zeroed to the same point. So that definitely is something I dig for sure. I hit most of the big ones, but a few things I wanted to sort of touch on here at the end that we didn't cover so far. Number one is going to be the material that it's made out of. So this thing, the entire body of it, as you see here, as well as the mount, are made out of 6061 T6 aluminum. It is hard anodized. So I know some of you guys out there are saying, oh, you wish it was 7075. Don't disagree with that, but there's pros and cons to each material, as I've covered in several videos. And for those that haven't watched the channel before, 7075 tends to be a little bit harder and a little bit stronger. However, it's more brittle and less corrosion resistant than the 6061 is. So the 6061, of course, is a little bit softer, but is more corrosion resistant. So pros and cons to each. I know the mil spec for most materials is going to be 7075, so just keep that in mind. That's something you get here with this specific offering. Also want to cover the sort of reliability of it, right? So my original one I got in is not this one. So originally they sent one out and it worked perfectly with the exception of this little locking clasp here. It just didn't work correctly and would come loose. I contacted their customer service and within a week we had the new one in, which is this one right here. And we've had a grand total of 0 issues of any kind with it. It's held 0 throughout. I think we've had this one on 308 AR-10s as well as several AR-15s and AR pistol, as you guys saw. Also, I think some 22 nozzle rifles. So we've used it in a ton of different configurations and it has had a grand total of 0 issues of any kind. Like I said, held 0, hasn't budged, all that stuff. Now, if I was going to use this, you know, for self-defense type of thing, one thing I would do is probably look for some sort of way to sort of tie this little clamp down. Now, like I said, it does have that locking mechanism, so there really is no way you can get it out without bumping that. But I think just out of fear, I would fear that I would bump it and it would come off. But again, I haven't seen it at all in real life. It's just sort of the Murphy's Law in me playing out. So the actual tape switch as well, we had 0 issues with. You guys know I'm not one to really trust tape switches too much. However, this one worked completely fine. So no issues there. As far as I know, is not compatible with any of the other like dual tape switches and stuff like that. If you guys want to run them with aftermarket lights and stuff like that. Again, as far as I know, it's not compatible with those. If I'm wrong, someone please point it out down below, but mine don't fit. So I have those and they don't fit in here. So that's sort of a con to it, if you will. But other than that, been solid. Like I said, we've had 0 issues with it. It's held 0. It works really well. The laser is very bright. For all of you laser and Illuminator guys down here, I will put the specs at the bottom of the screen for all of you guys who know what that sort of stuff means. But this is a civilian safe laser here in America, so anybody can purchase it. You don't need LA creds or anything like that to go out and get one. And it seems to have good throw, like we talked about with that Illuminator. Very good throw, in fact. Probably almost too much if you're going to just try to use it for CQB. It's not that you can't use it, it's that with your nods on, the IR Illuminator is so focused, it's extremely bright. You guys probably saw that through the camera, and even, you know, using your nods, it's very, very bright. Now the laser looks perfectly fine. There's no, you know, aberrations or anything like that when you're looking at it in real life. The camera, of course, showed made it look bigger than it is in real life, but in real life, it's very precise, it's very small, gives you a good point of reference. But that Illuminator, my opinion, if it could have a little bit more diffusion, a little bit wider of a pattern for a home defense or self-defense type of role, I think that would be good. So instead of being able to adjust it, let's say between like 4 and 13, if you could adjust it from like 4 to 30, that'd be good. Or if you could just have a diffuser on there. However that needs to come around, that would certainly be nice. However, some of the more expensive IR laser illuminators out there on the market have the exact same issue, as some of you guys know. So those ones, a lot of those are twice as much as this one, and still has the same sort of throw pattern to it. So I suppose pros and cons like anything else. But if you guys have any questions about this that we didn't cover in the review, you can always post down below in the comments section. As always, you can always post over at my Facebook page as well. That's generally the best way to get in touch with me. I tend to see more messages over there than I do here on YouTube these days for whatever reason. But all in all, for the money, I think it's a good option for some folks that just kind of want to dabble in the night vision arena and see what's going on. And I mean, if you put it through its paces and test it out to the fact that you're comfortable with it, using it in a defensive role, by all means, if that works, I'd go for it. So that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I hope to see all of you in the next video.